since we have on each week to break down games. And I'll tell you what, first and foremost, my Friday night plans a week ago were, hey, unbeaten Ocean City at the Prep. That's going to be a good one. Then this little movie, The Joker, came out, and I said, hey, movie 6 o'clock instead of driving out to Richland. I think I'm going to go to the movie. But thank God for Mike McGarry, because he can tell me exactly why the Prep did what the Prep did, which was 35-3 at home over Ocean City. That's a whooping, Mike.
Well, you can sum it up in 2 words. I actually think Ocean City played a lot better than the final score indicated, but the 2 words that made a difference in the game was Carnell Davis, the wide receiver from Muskegon, made his St. Augustine Prep debut, and it was a tremendous debut. It was 7 catches, 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the difference in the game and showed why he's got 23 Division I football scholarship offers.
Whoa, 23, and he's from Muskegon. The last guy I remember getting that many offers was like Myron Roll, right, when he was in Galloway? And he didn't even play for a school around here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over 20 is a tremendous amount. He's got schools such as Oregon, Auburn, Penn State, Rutgers, Baylor, Temple have all offered him scholarship. Kind of a unique story. Carnell played at Absegami last year. In December, he moved down to Florida with his uncle and his aunt. And in Florida, they have spring football just like, the colleges have. He was able to play, 3 weeks of high school spring football with his high school down in Melbourne, Florida. He was already on the radar of colleges, before he went down there. Obviously Florida spring football is a hotbed for recruiters. They got a chance to see him. He moves back to Absecon in July, August, for family reasons, and enrolls at St. Augustine, has to sit the first 30 days of the season per NJSIA rules. But last night, obviously a sensational debut. You'd heard about him. You remembered him at Absegami, and he kind of lived up to, the hype last night.
All right, so Carnell Davis certainly with a great first impression last night, and he's only a junior. He's a junior wide receiver making his St. Augustine Prep debut, but he wasn't the only transfer impacting the game last night for the Hermits.
Yeah, Kanye Udo, a sophomore running back who transferred from St. Joe, obviously he had to sit the first 30 games also. He runs for over 100 yards in that game. So, the St. Augustine, which despite their 2-3 record is one of the top teams in South Jersey. We remember they beat St. Joe 2 weeks ago. Their losses are the top teams, Lenape, Shawnee, State College of Pennsylvania. But Udo and Davis just give them a dimension that they didn't have before. They were much more balanced offensively. They were very run-heavy. We remember in the St. Joe win, 28-12, they threw one pass and it was intercepted. Well, last night I think they ran for 175 yards and they threw for 174 yards. And you mentioned some key things right there. Carnell Davis, yes, he's a junior. Kanye Udo is a sophomore. You're looking at a St. Augustine team that is just loaded with talented sophomores and junior players. So the next 2 years in Richland, not to mention the rest of this season, should be pretty fun for the Hermits.
Pete Lancetta, as you know, Mike McGarry with us, Press of Atlantic City, talking Week 4 Friday night high school football. Pete Lancetta for so long was entrenched with that Hamilton program, and they always had good success because I would tell people like, look, the kids at the peewee level run the same plays as they do at the midget level. I'm using hockey terms, bantam level, right? Basically, the kids that were like 7 and 8 were running the same formations that the Blue Devils would eventually run in high school under Pete Lancetta. But man, Mike McGarry with Pete out in Richland now and what he's able to get because he's at this parochial school, well, he's got to think like, wow, this is like hitting the lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got players like that, you're going to open up the offense a little bit. They didn't throw it, they didn't throw it on every down, which is sometimes you see high school football teams do. But, Ocean City really made a commitment to stopping St. Augustine's run game last night, which was the right strategy. They put 7, 8 players in the box, dropped the safeties down. That left Davis out, on the edge, one-on-one, and St. Augustine was able to take advantage. And that's what's going to happen going forward with teams. Now teams are going to have to account for Davis on the outside. and that's just going to open things up for St. Augustine's running game inside. So, St. Augustine, a much more balanced football team with Udo and Davis out there.
Last question on this game, I think, before we do our version of the whip around where we talk about all the local teams. So is this the year then that the Prep and the Hermits, because, their narrative never changes because of the group they're in and the teams that are up north, right? Is this the year that they not only, go win a playoff game, but they actually make a run at maybe a title, for God's sakes?
Well, you don't know. You refer to the North Jersey Power 6 schools up north who, your Don Boscos, your Bergen Catholics, your St. Joe Montvales, who are not only among the best teams in the state of New Jersey, they're among the best teams in the country. And St. Augustine has had some playoff victories, but they have yet to break through and beat one of those Power 6 teams in a playoff game. They've come close the last 2 years under Pete Lancetta, but they haven't, they haven't had that victory, and obviously it's a big goal for the program. I don't know. Obviously, they're much better with Davis and Udo. I don't know if this is the year they do it, but I would say, in the next 2 years, next year and the year after, considering the number of talented sophomores and juniors that are on that team, it might happen with this group.
Yeah, that's Super Six, and this is why I like to have you on too, Mike McGarry. I don't even ask the question the right way, and you know what I'm referring to. State non-public 4. It's like we've known each other for at least 15 years. All right, so week 4 in the books, Friday Night Football. That was a big score that jumped out to me when I got out of the movies. Of course, I went to my Twitter account and checked out AC Press McGarry to see how things turned out there. Mainland, what a thriller for the Mainland Mustangs. They stay unbeaten, and better late than never, right? I mean, they waited until the last couple minutes of the ball game to pull one out.
Yeah, huge win for Mainland over Clearview. Mainland improves to 5-0, and we've talked on Saturday mornings all season long about Mainland's freshman running back Jabril Mace. Well, let's give his brother some love, his older brother, Jaquan Mace. He makes a big touchdown catch from Zach Graziato. I believe it was about 15 seconds left in the game. Mainland wins 14-7. Big win over Clearview. Mainland now 5-0. Undefeated this late in the season for the first time since the Brent Caprio days when they won, they went 12-0 and won that South Jersey Group 4 championship. A big win for Mainland, sets them up nice. A lot of power points. Clearview coming in was 3-1 or 4-1. Mainland avenges a defeat to Clearview last season. So Mainland, gets a big boost towards a South Jersey Group 4, playoff high seed in the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs. And they got a chance next week. They'll play Oak Crest. Oak Crest with a big win over Middle Township last night, 13-12. So, things rolling well right now for the Mainland Mustangs. One of the sad things, however, for the Mustangs, Braden Pullman, their great defensive lineman, maybe their best all-around football, probably out for the season with a knee injury suffered 2 weeks ago against Bridgeton. So that's kind of, the only kind of black cloud hanging over what has been so far a standout Mainland season.
I'm sorry to hear that. That explains the Facebook post from his dad, Tom, that I saw earlier in the week and said, stay strong or something like that. I didn't have enough time to, the old days I used to put on my Columbo hat and I do the digging because, I had to talk about it. Now I just wait until Mike McGarry explains it to me on Saturday mornings here on the Pete Thompson Show. All right, a little bit further down Route 9, Pleasantville beats Cedar Creek 18-6. We had this one on our air on 97.3 ESPN last night. How about your thoughts on Pleasantville pulling out a big win?
Well, a huge win for Pleasantville. Cedar Creek came into that game number 11 or number 10, I believe, in our Press Elite 11 ranking, and they came in off a big win over Woodrow Wilson last Saturday afternoon. Taylor Manning with a last-minute field goal the last-second field goal in that game. Cedar Creek beats Woodrow Wilson 29-28. They go up to Pleasantville, and from what I understand, Pleasantville just a tremendous job. Ernest Howard scored 2 touchdowns there. Sincere Brinson with a big interception. Cedar Creek turns the football over 5 times. I think they had 4 fumbles and interception. Tough to win a football game on any level, no matter who you're playing. Like you said, Pee-wee, Bantam, junior lightweight, whatever you want to call it. You turn the ball over 5 times, you're not going to win a football game. And a great game plan, apparently, by Pleasantville coach Chris Sacco. They kind of rushed 3 players, dropped 8 back in coverage, really stymied that Cedar Creek passing game, which was, tremendous all season long, and a huge win for Pleasantville. You got to wonder, hey, what's up with the Greyhounds in Cedar Creek? Pleasantville beat them twice last year in the regular season and the playoffs. Now they beat them again this year. Sometimes teams just have certain teams' numbers. So those 2 teams could meet again in the Group 2 playoffs. We'll see what happens going forward.
All right, we're getting close to the post, but I'll run through a few scores. Bridgeton 12, Cumberland 6. Hamilton works over Apsagami 49-21. Washington Township blanks EHT 22-0. Haddon Township over Lower Cape May 28-7. You mentioned Oakcrest, and I ran through all those, Mike, so we could at least give some due to the Millville Thunderbolts. And I was telling Hunter when we opened up the show, I think back to P.J. Mahagian being the coach there, and Zach Augustino probably played on that football team when EHT had a really good team, went to Cherokee for a playoff game, and got beat, quite frankly. So whenever I think of Cherokee and I think of playing in that stadium, I think of that game and how good their tradition is. So for Millville to go there and win, that's impressive.
Yeah, and you got to give Millville a lot of credit. I was saying this to someone last night at the St. Augustine game. You got to give Millville coach Dennis Thomas and the kids on that team a lot of credit. Millville, they start a lot of sophomores this year, kind of a rebuilding season for Millville. And how do they start the season? Well, they play one of those Power 6 North Jersey non-publics that we talked about, St. Peter's Prep up at Rutgers. Then they play the St. Joe Wildcats. And then they play Williamstown, who's undefeated and number 1 in our Press Elite 11. So they start the season 0-3. Now they've won back-to-back games to get back to 2-3. Coach Thomas does a great job. It's not so easy to keep 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids kind of believing in the plan and moving forward after you start the season with 3 rough losses. He did it last year. He's doing it again this year. Sophomore quarterback Nate Robinson, another late touchdown pass to Division I Pitt recruit Solomon DeShields. And Millville gets a big win at Cherokee, 20-14 last night. So credit to the Thunderbolts there.
All right, last thing. What's on the Saturday schedule? Where are you headed?
Headed out to Trenton. Big game. Vineland at 1-3 plays at Trenton 3-1. Vineland they're another team like their neighborhood rival, Millville. They're a kind of team that needs a win today to sort of right the ship a little bit, boost their Group 5 playoff hopes. And Vineland, they've got St. Joe coming up next Saturday. So a key game today, a lot of PowerPoints on the field. Vineland at Trenton, noon start at Trenton. You can find it on pressofac.com later today. And as you like to say, in the actual paper that hits your driveway tomorrow morning about 5 a.m.
Yeah, mine was in the blue bag waiting for me when I opened the door at 4:58 this morning. Thank you, Michael. We will talk to you again, and good job on keeping me updated when I'm seeing movies on Friday nights, and you're out there with the clipboard. I appreciate it, buddy.